Hello, I'm Tamara Galloway from London, England, and I'm going to demonstrate 4 modulations in the ES1 subtractive synthesizer in Logic Pro. The first modulation is of the amplitude envelope, and in this case the source is a saw of the sound is a saw wave in the oscillator, and this is routed via the attack, decay, sustain and release envelope to the gain in the amplifier using the ADSR via velocity slider. And I'm going to try to simulate a trumpet which rises at the attack at the beginning of the note to be slightly louder, because this is what happens when there's an initial blast of air into a trumpet. And for that I'm going to have quite a short attack, quite a short delay, and above middling sustain and a short release. Let's see whether that sounds like a trumpet. And the direction of this modulation is from the oscillator to the gain. The second modulation that I'm going to demonstrate is the pitch low frequency oscillator, and I'm going to try to make some strings with vibrato using that. And in this modulation the source is still the oscillator, but this time with a square wave, and the LFO, the low frequency oscillator, is set to a triangle wave and pulse width modulation. That's the routing, and the amount is in this rate dial here, and it's about 2:30 to 3 p.m. if you think of it as being like a clock. And this is trying to create strings with vibrato. And the direction is from the low frequency oscillator to the oscillator. The third modulation that I'm going to demonstrate is of gain, using the LFO to try to make a hollow tremolo bass. Now, since it's a bass, I've lowered the pitch and made the filter into a fat filter, but also the main thing is that the source is both the oscillator and the sub-oscillator, about half of each, slightly less of the sub-oscillator, and it's a square wave. And the root is of the volume from the low frequency oscillator with a triangle wave. And this is to make tremolo, which is a variation in loudness. And the amount is set to about 3:30 p.m. if you think of that as like a clock, and the intensity via wheel is nearly halfway, which is very important because otherwise it won't work. And the direction of this modulation is from the low frequency oscillator, this time to the amplifier. And the final modulation that I'm going to demonstrate is a modulation of timbre. And this modulation is using its source as the oscillator, not the sub-oscillator at all, and it's a saw wave in the oscillator, and the root is from the low frequency oscillator into the filter, actually the cut-off section of the filter, And it's very important to have the resonance set high for this, otherwise it won't work. And the amount, again, is about, well, the rate is about 230 to 3 on this dial here, thought of as a clock. And the direction of this modulation is from the low frequency oscillator to the cutoff in the filter. So I hope that that has demonstrated these 4 modulations adequately, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.